You forgot the first rule of remakes, Jill. Don't fuck with the original.
Insidious 2 is coming out this Friday, and you know what that means?
Another edition of Don't F with the Original.
I am Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic.com and movie critic.
And I'm Nicholas, video game correspondent for Idiomatic.
And as you might have guessed, we will be talking about the first Insidious, because that just makes sense.
Oh, I thought we were talking about, damn it.
I
thought we were talking about E.T. Is that what we're...
Too late. We have a lot of material to go through, so I'll let you do the synopsis, Nick.
Alright, so it basically starts with the Lambert family that just moved into a new house. And actually their older kid, Dalton, falls into a mysterious coma. And also weird stuff is happening around the house. It's kind of like the house is haunted and it's freaking everybody out. So they decide to move, which is, I guess, a pretty rational thing to do. But then the spirits follow them, and they learn that their son Dalton is not actually in a coma. He's just outside of his body, and evil spirits are trying to enter his body. So they have to try and find a way to solve the problem and bring Dalton back to the living world.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It delves into some poltergeist stuff and exorcism stuff, and it all ties back to Josh's, the father, own childhood experiences with supernatural events.
Yes.
This is a James Wan movie. That's the director of...
Oh, okay. I thought this is a James Bond movie. I was like, what?
James Wan. This is the guy who gave us Saw.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. That explains a lot.
Yeah, it actually, yeah, I'll have more to say on that, but yeah, actually it does. It's not a violent movie, which is fascinating in itself.
Yeah.
But what's interesting for me is that this movie was made under a new financial model that he created. He's asking studios to only give him $20 million to make a movie that will look good, that will be easy to market, but he doesn't want a big budget. He just wants $10 to $20 million and to make a series of film for them, with the condition that because he doesn't require a lot of money, they leave him the hell alone to make the production without interference, if you will, as long as he delivers a product.
Ballsy.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting new financial model. A lot of people have brought up the point that movies are getting way too expensive. And it's getting harder to make your money back.
Yeah.
So it is an interesting model. When I saw Insidious come out, it make good money. It was successful, and I was pleased because, not just because of the movie, but mostly because I was very invested in such a model becoming more popular in Hollywood.
Yes. Yeah.
But about the movie itself.
Okay.
I kind of liked it. I mean, it's not the best, craziest, most amazing thing in the world.
No. But now that it's for 20 million, you think, okay, the special effects are kind of eh. But they for the money they had, they kind of look good. They do the job, good enough. You can feel the haunting, even though most of the time it's just doors shaking and slamming, and people running like crazy with fire pokers. It's like what's happening here. So you feel that more than you feel the ghost. Yeah. But it's a clever use, I'm guessing, of the money they have.
I think so. And the truth be told, I like that more than seeing a big expensive monster. Stephen King had a great argument about this. He says that most horrors is about the monster in the closet.
Yeah.
And the thing about the monster in the closet is that once you open the closet, what you see is, a bunch of running shoes tied together that look like something, or a coat and a hanger and whatnot. It's always disappointing. And in literature, for his example, it was the same thing. As soon as you describe what the monster is, it suddenly gets a lot less interesting. Yeah.
I'm guessing that's why they didn't want to show the shark in Jaws for like the first hour or so. It's like, what is this thing? What is that shark? What does it look like? We don't know. Once you see, okay, that's the shark. Now we need to kill it. But, the first hour keeps you in suspense. Once you see this shark, it's like, well, I know what it looks like now. So, and also usually those big budget monsters look so fake and unscary. If you don't believe me, just go watch the Godzilla and you'll see that. Wow, this is so not terrifying.
Yeah, and both the old and the new is the fascinating thing. Like the old Godzilla, obviously it's a guy in a lizard suit, not very scary, obviously.
Yeah. You're used to that if you watch Power Rangers,
Yeah, exactly. But like the new one with the digital effect and everything, it's like, still not impressive to me.
No, it's really not. You get the same thing with a guy in the lizard suit.
So Insidious, I think, yes, I do believe that their decision is probably budget related, but I think it's a smart move as well, in terms of just, building with very little. I mean, Paranormal Activity, there's 4 movies in, and that's what it is, doors creaking and all of that.
Yeah.
And Insidious is sort of the same thing, but without the gimmick of the first-person camera.
Yeah, exactly.
Which has grown tiresome anyway.
Yeah, the first couple of ones, it's getting harder and harder to find a reason why everything is getting filmed. But yeah, if you remove that, it's a lot easier to explain, and it makes for a good story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Lots of jump scares in Insidious. Oh, good God! Everything is a big jump.
Yeah, eventually, if everything's a jump scare, nothing scares you, I feel, because okay, there's going to be a jump scare now, and there's going to be a jump scare now. You have to pace them so that, is there going to be a jump scare? No, okay, I'm good this time. But if every opportunity you make a jump scare, kind of loses its effect,
Is that what happened for you?
Yeah, it really is. It's like, okay, I'm expecting this now. Oh, look, it happened, The first couple ones got me, but eventually you can get the rhythm of the jump scares. Yeah. And it's like, okay, the next one in top minus 5 seconds. And, just right on cue. There it is.
There's one that got me, really bad. It's the Darth Maul scare. Where at one point there seems to be a sort of a possession thing going on, and then things calm down, and obviously that's when the jump scare happens. Yeah. And the jump scare happens to just be a cut shot of Darth Maul, essentially.
Yeah.
Close up with the big shoom music. Yeah, that one made me jump a lot.
He is scary, with those double lightsabers, he could cut you in half. He's also cut in half himself, so that's even scarier. He has robot legs now. That's in the comic books, guys. I
actually find that jump scares did work for me. I'm not a fan of jump scares, though, is my big problem. I find them exhausting and not necessarily memorable.
Yeah, if a movie manages to scare me with, showing something freaky on screen, or just by the general ambiance, like in Ring, the original one, where, it was freaky what was happening, and there was no jump scare involved at all. But I was just terrified throughout the whole thing, that's good. I remember those movies. Whereas I remember jump scare of 17 in this movie. It's like, no, I'm not going to remember that.
Yeah, no, it's the same way. And for me, that sort of limits my enthusiasm for the movie, though I liked the story throughout until it got to the final act.
Yeah.
I think we should get to the specifics of the endings a little bit later in the podcast.
I agree.
I do want to point out that the budget really shows in the final act, where he goes into the other side, if you will.
Yeah.
And it's just like the same house, but with dry ice. It's
and dark.
And dark.
Yeah.
It looks really fakey. It looks really ridiculously fake.
How do you know the other side doesn't look like that, Dimitri? It might be authentic, and we don't know. We've never been there.
Yeah, but it looks like a bad play. It looks like a bad community play.
Yes. Oh, good point. Half expecting a boat made out of cardboard, just going across with 2 guys rowing.
Exactly.
2 guys in the background just moving the boat.
And that's totally where the movie loses me. And you guys know me. I am not a guy who is particularly affected by bad special effects, but this, I don't know. It's not that it's badly made, but it reminded me way too much of that episode of Family Ties where Michael J. Fox is in therapy to deal with his friend's suicide, and he keeps moving from one dark room to the other to enact a sketch about the last couple of weeks. It reminded me so much of that I was like, I could not get into the movie.
Most obscure reference on Idiomatic ever. Actually, the thing is, bad special effects do take me out of the movie.
Yeah.
That's why, you have to be very careful when you use them. Okay, if you can't do something super elaborate right, do something simple right and make it look good. That's how I feel. So, yeah, that last scene there was it's just the same house, but dark. And just, when you put everything in the dark, it's easy to have everything kind of look scary because it's dark, so you don't see it coming. And with the fakey smoke too, it's like, yeah, this is kind of boring to me.
I think It's Dark alone would have been more efficient than Dark with Dry Ice. I think the dry ice was the most distracting thing to me. It's like, ooh la la, condensation. All right, let's rewind a little bit. How did you feel about The Medium? Like, I know a lot of people criticize the movie for sort of getting off rails the minute the medium shows up with her two assistants there.
I hated that part.
Yeah?
I hated the medium and his... First of all, the assistants. I hate, in general, not even in specific, I hate mediums, ghost hunters. Let's just use the word, I'm sorry if you get sued, but frauds in general, okay? Which is what they are. Even in movies, okay? When the ghost hunters show up and they're just the typical geeky ghost hunters fake that you normally see, I was like, okay, this just kind of, nuked the fridge for me. Is like, this movie kind of, I don't like this. And then the medium shows up, and with like all the hundreds of fake mediums, that are there, I was like, oh God, no. And I really, really hated that part. It's only when they finally reached the final act where they were kind of completely out there and it was just the father. I was like, okay, I'm back in this now.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, because I hate mediums in movies more than I hate criminals in movies. Wow.
I don't have that same animosity because if a movie establishes that ghosts are real, then a medium doesn't seem as much as a fraud to me in that universe. So
yeah.
I'm more willing to go along with it. I thought they were sort of funny. Like the two scientists, they're funny. They made me laugh.
Don't make them fakey though. I mean, those are basically kind of like the fakey ghost hunter you see on sci-fi, with all the sciencey kind of fakey Ghostbusters. This is my PK.
Rater,
this is my PKE meter, and it's like, come on. If you're doing ghosts, kind of a spiritual thing, have the ghost hunter be more spiritual than have them be science based.
Okay,
is what I'm thinking.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I'm perfectly fine with mediums, and like one example that like quote unquote medium that I found was genius was like in the Matrix when he goes and sees the Oracle.
Yeah. Because
that was a completely different world with different rules, and that Oracle, what's happening with her? How can she see the future? Is it because of the Matrix? Is it because of what? I was completely fine and fascinated with that character. But in this movie, it's like, oh, it's a medium, and it's like, oh, she looks like one of those, basically the same concept of the fakey medium that basically tells you what you want to hear. And just shows up, and this is what's going to have to happen. And at the end, give me some money. Because she never asks for some money, but you can kind of feel it coming. It's like, no, I don't like that. Those mediums were too much like the ones you see here in real day.
Okay.
It was like too much. I have too much hatred for these people to like those in the movie.
What it is it's sort of a retake of the character from Poltergeist, the medium character from Poltergeist.
That short,
the short,
yeah.
And I mean, to a certain degree, I think it's referring to that movie, and that movie wasn't referring to any specific mediums back in the day.
Yeah.
It sort of just created its own little medium, this woman, because she's such a fascinating actress just in terms of look.
Yes, she was.
And I think what happened is culturally, Poltergeist became so popular that the mediums, like the charlatans, that appeared in the real world, sort of like tried to emulate her because she was the most recognizable view of the medium.
Okay.
So when Insidious sort of refers back to that character from Poltergeist, she looks like every charlatan in real life.
Yeah, I guess so.
Having said that, I like her crazy mask. Like, it's creepy and weird, but like for no reason. Like the gas mask, it's just like, why? Why do you need to be in there? Okay, whatever. But I like the sort of idea of just introducing these weirdnesses in the, like as you say, technology of ghost hunting.
Yeah. Where
it's not just, they have the Ghostbuster stuff, which is admittedly a little bit distracting because it's Ghostbuster stuff.
Yeah.
So that part I didn't like as much, but as long as you're introducing technology, like create your own and go into your own mythology, like as soon as she popped out the gas mask, I was like, did not see that coming. And I'm going to go along with that one just because I didn't see it coming,
Okay. Yeah, it was... Nah, it was very distracting, and of course you have to make them the typical geek nerds. So it's like, okay, here comes the comic relief. So you basically, hey, look, we're gonna think these guys are frauds because they're just the typical geek. Is like, of course, hey, twist, they're not frauds. They're kind of real ghost hunters. Like, okay, you got me, yay.
And I do agree that as comic relief characters, they're sort of acting in a different movie than all the other actors.
Yeah.
Patrick Wilson, who plays the father, and Rose Byrne, who plays the mother, play it so desperate throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
And you really buy into it, because of course you would be desperate if you were trying to save your son. You know?
Yeah, your son's is in a coma that the doctors can't explain, and he's been in coma for like weeks. And you see the other kid, he's terrified, and it's like it's a very bad position to be in if you're a parent. And all of a sudden, these two goofy guys show up, and they invade your house, and they start fiddling with things, and they start touching your stuff as well. Hey, this would have been worth more in the original package. Like, do your job, dude. Seriously.
It's too bad because, again, I think Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne really carry the movie very well and keep you invested in that universe.
Yeah, they were on spot, and you can even see like after the medium shows up and explain the whole thing, and the father's like, okay, that's enough. I had them come in for your peace of mind, but we're gonna do this reality thing, and you guys just get out, and he seems like the bad guy. Is like, what the hell am I the bad guy? I'm being rational here, and it's like I totally felt for him. It's like, yeah, you tell him. But it's a great performance, and it's like, how am I the bad guy? He said he didn't travel, so we moved. In this economy, he moved. It's like, dude, that's a lot of money he spent for you, girl. So, yeah.
And at the same time, you also see her point of view, because she'll try anything just to get her son back.
Yeah,
that's not unreasonable either.
Yeah, but then when he said it's going to be dangerous for the kid, she's like, no, okay, we're not gonna. No,
yeah,
he doesn't even want to hear it. As soon as he said it's going to be dangerous for the kid, he's like, no, okay, you guys were here for the for the mental state of my wife, but you're not doing anything to my kid. Get out. And I was like, oh, that's good. I like that.
Yeah, no, we see where he comes from, and my argument is you also see where she comes from. Because yes, it's a danger to her kid, but at the same time, she doesn't have her kid right now.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, and it becomes a difference in parenting, and that I thought was a nice angle as well.
Yeah,
because they're both understandable characters, and there's not like I'm gonna bring Paranormal Activity again, but like it's not like in Paranormal Activity where like the girl's just like, stop bringing Ouija boards into the house, you're clearly being haunted, and the guy's like, oh, I'm gonna do it anyway because it's funny.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you know what, asshole?
Yeah, exactly.
You get whatever comes to you.
Yeah, I completely see that.
Okay, so let's get into a little bit of spoiler territory, because I really do want to talk about the final act, because I think a lot of the movie becomes more defined by that final act.
Yeah.
So it turns out that Josh, as a child, was hunted down by a demon of his childhood, and
because he could astral travel, and he could leave his body, basically. His soul could leave his body and travel, which is what happened to Dalton, basically. Yeah. His soul is gone, and it's held prisoner somewhere, and he can't leave. And you learn that apparently it runs in the family. I guess it's genetic or something that you can astral travel.
Oh, why not?
Sure, I like when spiritual things are genetic. It completely makes sense. I know, right? I know. So yeah, now the final solution is since he could astral travel when he has to go and get the soul of his kid himself. And that was a funny scene actually when he's like, okay, she's prepping him to do so, and he's like, he just gets up in anger. He's like, this is not going to work. I don't know how to do this. And he's out of his body. He looks back. I was like, oh, that's pretty funny.
I gotta say, the movie loses me right there. When they start talking about astral projection a la Professor X, I was like, you over-explained it. I'm done. Goodbye.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I was like, ugh.
I like the fact that it explains why the kid's in a coma, because his soul is being traveled somewhere, and now the other spirits want to, the house is haunted because the other spirits want a vessel. Yeah. Okay. And then basically says you need to also leave your corpse to go find his soul. I was fine with that. What did they over-explain to you, if you feel like...
Too much, it's because you have this character coming out of left field, the medium. Yeah. Going like, exposing us like, okay, here's how the mythology of our universe works and how that explains everything. And it feels a little bit like a huge info dump into a complete fantasy of a world. And this sort of very intricate mythology related to this world. And I don't feel like I've been eased into that mythology.
It's basically like, what's happening, here's what's happening, here's the solution.
Yeah.
It would have been good in your trial and error, maybe you're thinking, is this what's happening? No, okay, is that what's happening? Or
yeah, maybe. Okay. Especially since he discovers the drawings and he sees the little kid drawing himself flying away from his body. Yeah. It's like, all I could think of was like, oh, look, it's Peter Pan. And
Yeah.
Peter Pan's not that scary to me. Uh,
A boy that doesn't grow up is not scary to you?
but I mean, I'm still watching the movie. I'm not like, okay, I've packed my bags, I'm walking away there.
Okay, yeah.
But first of all, because I don't bring bags to a movie. It's like I'm moving into the theater. Okay, it turns out it was all a trap.
Yeah.
It turns out it was a trap to get him away from his own body so that the evil spirit could occupy his body.
Yeah.
Interesting ending. I don't hate it.
I saw it coming a mile away.
Yeah, me too, actually.
Yeah. As soon as she said you need to leave your body and go find him, it's like, really? It's a diversion. No, I immediately said, well, why is nobody focused on his well-being? It's obvious that he's going to end up being not in his body anymore.
Look, I saw it coming too, and this is what I have to say about horror movies today. They all end with a twist.
Yeah.
That makes them all predictable, because once you start looking for the twist, you always find it.
Have you told me, though, that, it was from the director of Saw? Because I didn't know that. I think it would have made the ending like predictable from the beginning and not just when. Because I also don't like this trend of evil win. You watch movies, you like to feel good at the end. You like to spend this 2 hours watching and it's like have something fulfilling and some joy at the end. It's like, oh, this is good. This ended good. I'm happy. Not just, oh, this kind of sucked for the good guy. Now he's that happened to him. Even when movies finish good and you have a good ending, I always kind of feel, well, that sucks for that guy, I always think the negative point, so it's like, when it finishes bad, you're like, well, this royally sucks, period, it's not a good feeling.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I've for those of you who read the reviews on idiomatic.com, I keep arguing this for horror movies. Horror movies have the power of catharsis if they show us how to vanquish evil that might represent particular evils in our lives or whatnot. Yeah. If we just end up being screwed by them, all you've done is identify a pain in our lives that we were already well aware of. So there's not that sense of my benefiting from watching your movie, if you will.
Okay.
Having said this, it's not that I hate the concept of the ending itself. I mean, the trap is well set up in the sense of it's not like Josh, the father, is being particularly irrational in not thinking of his own well-being because he's focused on his son.
Yeah, exactly.
So the fact that he would fall for it doesn't seem that crazy.
I think even if they had told him, that they'll take your body if you leave it, but you might save your son, I think he would have done it anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's story-wise, it works, it's fine. I want people to vanquish the evil, but it is a James Wan thing, and that's where it gets a little bit more fascinating for me on almost a meta level. Is James Wan... Okay, horror filmmakers tend to have all of their little things that scare them more than other things.
Okay.
Authors as well, like Edgar Allan Poe clearly was afraid of being buried alive.
Okay, I thought he was afraid of crows.
But what does the crow point to? A body being buried.
Yeah.
Under the floor, but still.
Yeah, I understand.
Stephen King clearly afraid of objects moving on their own.
Yeah.
Clive Barker afraid of being skinned alive. They all have that thing that they always come back to that they're afraid of.
Okay.
And in the case of James Wan, it seems to be that this man is afraid of getting screwed over. All of his horror movies end with the villain having had this master plan all along, and you've been played all this time.
I guess he's been in Hollywood for too long. That's why he's afraid of that. I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah, no, that's it. And I especially like the fact that James Wan, after pioneering the torture porn movie with Saw, is one of the first people to sort of done with that.
Good for him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And bring us back to sort of a more intellectual horror. Not that this is a particularly cerebral movie, but it is a movie that relies on your imagination from seeing doors close on their own and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I prefer that kind of horror. I think it's craftier. I think it's smarter. And I think it's easier to watch just because more gore.
Yeah.
Because I just sort of disconnect when there's too much gore because...
It never looks real either, the gore, honestly.
Exactly.
Always too much or too little. Or, the human body doesn't look like that. So it's gore really takes me out of the movie very fast, like very bad special effects. So I like when there's no gore because there's nothing to really take me out immediately.
Yeah, I agree. So for that, I appreciate Insidious. And again, for the business model it represents, the budget with which it was made. So it's just from where it comes from. I think it comes from the right place in terms of James Wan making a movie like this. In terms of the final product, I do find that the thing falls apart at the end.
Yes. Yeah, I can agree on that.
So we have Insidious 2.
Yeah.
Which still the same family, same actors. It's called Insidious Chapter 2, in fact, which follows their adventure starting from where the first movie left off.
But now the father is possessed by that eel guy, so they're trying to get the father back?
From the trailers, it seems that the father somehow, at some point during the movie, gets unpossessed. I'm guessing that what they might do is present the final scene of the first movie as the first scene of the movie, explain how the father might have gone back to his body just in the nick of time to retake his body, maybe.
All right.
As the first set piece, and then move the story along as he's still being followed by the demon.
How are they going to explain the murder of the medium to the police?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting. But it does seem to be in that vein, because from the trailer it seems that the father seems to be back to normal, but the kid doesn't trust the father. He says there's something wrong with the father. So
I could see that. You know, he did murder a woman in front of the kid.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, I don't think Daddy's all there. Yeah, I don't know. Daddy's fine. Billy, it's all good. Dalton, sorry, it's no Billy there.
So that seems to be the plot of the movie. I actually think that's interesting.
Yeah.
One thing with horror sequels is that I'm one of the proponents of, like, don't screw over the characters that got away in the first movie, because it takes away that happy ending for me.
Okay.
So I'm fine with them introducing a new cast of characters if they want to follow the monster.
Yeah.
But in this case, since the original cast of characters were getting screwed at the end of the first movie, I'm all for a second movie that gives them a second chance at not being screwed.
Okay.
So I'm actually looking forward to this movie in that regard.
Oh, that's interesting. It's an interesting way of seeing it.
You?
No, I'm probably not going to go see that. Although I'm curious to see how they're going to do on the low budget the scares, because I think, you know, the door thing was done very effectively in the first one. I think it'll get boring if they do the same thing in the second one with doors again. I mean, so how are they going to keep that, you know, fresh and be still scary without using gore, hopefully, and, you know, still on the low budget? How are they going to do that without resorting to some guy behind the door shaking it, you know, and then hiding when the actor opens it? That I'm actually curious about. I'm probably gonna not go see it in the theater. Probably just gonna wait until it's you know, rental, or if it shows on TV sometimes. But I'm really just curious about that part. What are they gonna use for the scares? Because they did a good job in the first one, and I hope they manage to do it in the second one in an original way.
Yeah, and I think it's entirely possible as well. Like, I don't think it's an insurmountable challenge to sort of vary it up and find something new to do. And I agree with you. Maybe jiggling doors for another hour and a half might not be so awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping we don't see the astral plane ever again.
Really?
Oh, that dry ice, man.
They did blow the budget. I'm guessing like 15 millions of the 20 went on dry ice or something like that, you know.
On that note, if you want to share with us your opinions about Insidious Chapter 1 or 2, you can write us at mail@idiomatic.com or post a comment at idiomatic.com. We're also on Facebook, we're also on Twitter, we're also on iTunes. And until next time.
Yeah.
It was the same thing. As soon as you describe what the monster is, it suddenly gets a lot less interesting.
Yeah. I'm guessing that's why they didn't want to show the shark in Jaws for like the first hour or so. It's like, you know, what is this thing? What is that shark? What does it look like? You know, you don't know. Once you see, okay, oh, that's the shark. Now we need to kill it. But, you know, the first hour keeps you in suspense. You know, once you see this shark, it's like, well, I know what it looks like now. So, and also usually those big budget monsters look so fake and unscary. If you don't believe me, just go watch the Godzilla and you'll see that wow, this is so not terrifying.
Yeah, and both the old and the new is the fascinating thing. Like the old Godzilla, obviously it's a guy in a lizard suit, not very scary, obviously.
Yeah. You're used to that if you watch Power Rangers, you know.
Yeah, exactly. But like the new one with the digital effect and everything, it's like, yep, still not impressive to me.
No, it's really not. You get the same thing with a guy in the lizard suit out. So they decide to move, which is, I guess, a pretty rational thing to do. But then the spirits follow them, and they learn that their son Dalton is not actually in a coma. He's just outside of his body, and evil spirits are trying to enter his body. So they have to try and find a way to solve the problem and bring Dalton back to the living world.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It delves into some poltergeist stuff and exorcism stuff, and it all ties back to Josh's, the father, own childhood experiences with supernatural events.
Yes.
This is a James Wan movie. That's the director of...
Oh, okay. I thought this is a James Bond movie. I was like, what?
James Wan. This is the guy who gave us Saw.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. That explains a lot.
Yeah, it actually, yeah, I'll have more to say on that, but yeah, actually it does. It's not a violent movie, which is fascinating in itself.
Yeah.
But what's interesting for me...
You forgot the first rule of remakes, Jill. Don't fuck with the original.
Insidious 2 is coming out this Friday, and you know what that means?
Another edition of Don't F with the Original.
I am Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic.com and movie critic.
And I'm Nicholas, video game correspondent for Idiomatic.
And as you might have guessed, we will be talking about the first Insidious, because that just makes sense.
Oh, I thought we were talking about, damn it.
I
thought we were talking about E.T. Is that what we're...
Too late. We have a lot of material to go through, so I'll let you do the synopsis, Nick.
Alright. So, it basically starts with the Lambert family that just moved into a new house. And actually their older kid, Dalton, falls into a mysterious coma. And also weird stuff is happening around the house. It's kind of like the house is haunted and it's freaking everybody out.
I kind of liked it. I mean, like, it's not the best, craziest, most amazing thing in the world.
No. But now that it's for 20 millions, you think, okay, the special effects are kind of But they, for the money they had, they kind of look good. They do the job, good enough. You can feel the haunting, even though most of the time it's just doors shaking and slamming and, people running like crazy with fire pokers. It's like, what's happening here? So you feel that more than you feel the ghost.
Yeah.
But, it's a clever use, I'm guessing, of the money they have.
I think so. And the truth be told, I like that more than seeing a big expensive monster. Stephen King had a great argument about this. He says that most horrors is about the monster in the closet.
Yeah.
And the thing about the monster in the closet is that once you open the closet, what you see is, a bunch of running shoes tied together that look like something, or a coat and a hanger and whatnot. It's always disappointing. And in literature, for his example, is that this movie was made under a new financial model that he created. He's asking studios to only give him $20 million to make a movie that will look good, that will be easy to market, but he doesn't want a big budget. He just wants $10 to $20 million and to make a series of film for them, with the condition that because he doesn't require a lot of money, they leave him the hell alone to make the production without interference, if you will, as long as he delivers a product.
Ballsy.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting new financial model. A lot of people have brought up the point that movies are getting way too expensive. And it's getting harder to make your money back.
Yeah.
So it is an interesting model. When I saw Insidious come out, it make good money. It was successful, and I was pleased because, not just because of the movie, but mostly because I was very invested in such a model becoming more popular in Hollywood.
Yes. Yeah.
But about the movie itself.
Okay.